Okay, in bottom page Reshut Ches, we started discussing the fact that what is the meaning of the pasuk Shem Shemogen Havaya Lekin? Shem Havaya is compared to Ha'or. It's only an external expression, external light coming out. Kaviyachol Deivish. It's not. That's what he says in the 3 lines from the bottom of Reshut Ches. Kawekan Lamailo Shem Havaya. מבחינת שמש, מבחינת האור לבד. שכוסה, אני הוויה הוא שמי, it's another pasuk, אני הוויה הוא שמי, that Havaya is the name, מבחינת שם והאור לבד. Like a name is also, like we mentioned yesterday, that a name also has the same quality, its only function is, it's external. Other people call you by your name, but for yourself, you don't need a name.
I'm sorry, the thing that somebody faints, you call him their name, so that's for him himself. You revive him.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a famous famous concept of Siddur. That the word name, shame, has two functions. Right now, in this point, they're concentrating on that. Sometimes Siddur talks about a shame. Touches the etzem, which is really, he's going to say, but oil also the similar thing. Sometimes say the name touches the etzem of the person, the name connects the all these things are true too. But in this particular context, we're talking about one aspect of a name. Because on a certain level, it's all like a lot of mashalim cities. You only apply that particular aspect of a name in the simple world, just a lot of Mishonim, a lot of Morris and Siddur, not only in Siddur, you bring a marshal, but its functions only to explain one aspect of the Nimshal. And the same thing, the marshal itself. The marshal has a lot of aspects, but it's only so in a certain aspect, a name. In a very simple look, even light. Say light. So if you dig too much in light, you can also find light is not exactly, because we're talking about a certain perspective. From a certain perspective, what happened? A name is something that you need just to relate to others, and simple state. Like you say, it's true that name also has other aspects. At this point,
thank you.
That's the mush. This until now, and this is also the reason why the godly flow of energy of is called in Kabbalah oil and stuff. Oil means the light. Because it's compared to Eir HaShemesh, the same aspect that it's Or Ba'alma. Also, another expression Chazal, Ziv HaShechina, the ray of the Shechina. Why Ziv? I mean, you can describe it says Tzadikim Yeshim, that the same Bar Hashem, Nenim Miziv HaShechina. The light in the ray of the Shechina. So why is the Chazal use the word ray? It's also the same, bringing out the same concept. That it's only something external. Now he says, there are two different levels. Because again, it's one of these things, usually even in Shtani, Oyer V'Ziv goes together. The light and the ray. But in a more specific, ray is considered less. Within Ha'or Gufa, a ray, there's light, there's a ray of light. A ray of light is supposedly a more diminished part of the light. So he says it here in 2 lines. Oyer in Sof applies to every madrigan, even the Reshut Lifnei Hatzimtzum. It's also called Oyer because it's stuck it's a Ha'or from a very high level. The Ziv HaShechina, he uses the word Oyer again. Okay. But again, within oil itself, there's oil and ziv. But the interesting thing is that he brings it here in Armayim, but what he wants to bring out is not Mikol Makom. Okay, but he wants to bring out not Mikol Makom, because the next step. So that in oil gufa there are two levels. There is the ha'or of the oil in sof. There's a lower level in the ha'or, which is the rakav and meil achar tzimtzum. But vinishvi benegel what he's the point he's making here is it's ha'or ba'al. That's point number one. On the other hand, but there's a flip side. On the other hand, hagam shuknes ha'or levad. The oil itself is ha'or levad. Mikol makom hu me'eina etz. He has this unique quality that it totally reflects the essence. He's going to say a mashal in a minute. What's the other way? The two ways, general ways that an object can be expressed, can relate to the outside of himself. One is called oil, which is me'ena etzem, means the reflection is expresses the full power of the source. There's another level that the whatever is reflected is a diminished way. So he says like this: the kamoi shiur shemesh hagam shiur levad netzem hashemesh. The light and the ray of the sun. Oh, bilvad. It's only what's the word? So I translate how reflection. It's not proper translation, but the idea is it's something external. Forget. There's a better word for it. On the other hand, this main etzem the kamoish etzem Hashem shebeyin. Kach ha'or ze omer menu beyin. U'pchinas eir meir sheir haziv gilim min etzem lachen main etzem. The sun is bright, and the brightness of the sun is expressed directly in the light. The light expresses the brightness of the sun as is, which it means me'ena etzem. It expresses the full brightness of the sun. So he brings in another, which I just said before, the two ways. So the way he describes it is like the famous concept of Chassidus is a different oil and shefa. That the oil is our ba'alma. Oil means it's only an external reflection, but shefa is hashpasa etzem. Shefa is that the thing itself is lowered to the makabel. Kamoi ba'hashpasa seichel. For example, when we teach a seichel, the teacher teaches a seichel to the student. In this way of understanding the marshal, in the world, when the teacher teaches the student an idea, seichel, intellectual idea, it's not that the student gets a ha'ora, some outside reflection of what the teacher thinks. He gets the actual seichel. The idea itself is transferred from the teacher's mind to the student's mind. So there's a transfer of the essence here. Then the second thing, he essentially calls hashpa atzmis, which for some reason he's not verbalizing it, but like another place I'll say this, it's more explicit. The basic hashpatzis means the hashpat hatipot, that the male and female unite in a way that the male has mashpia from itself, something real into the female, and that creates so that's called hashpa atzmis. Okay, so the cha'era, in seichel and hashpa atzmis, there's an actual thing that moves from one place to another. in the shemesh stayed where it is. What reached the Makabel was only a hole. There's a major difference between them. The oil is stuck in not the shemesh itself. It's only a ha'ara. It's only a reflection. At the same time, what we can see, basically what we're saying is we see in the earth what the etzem is. Want to know who the etzem is? You look at the light, you see this is brightness, it comes from the sun. Sun is bright, the light is bright. It reflects the essence of its source. Shefa is stuck in the thing, he moves it, but it doesn't reflect the full power of the source. The idea moves from the teacher to the student. Teacher knows a blood Gemara, and he teaches the student the blood Gemara. So on one hand, he took an actual piece of information and it actually transferred from his mind to the student's mind. So in a way, that's why it's called shef. It's a shpa'atzis, but same, not a shef, shpa'me'etzem. At the same time, still, we cannot say that the way the student understands the idea fully captures the way the teacher understands himself. The way he understands it, it's impossible for him to give that over to the makabel, to the student. He does a little split here that it's the reason it's not happening is on both sides. First of all, the mashpia, it's impossible to give over how you really understand, and the makabel doesn't have the capacity to understand it the way the teacher understands. So usually, this type of mashalim, Chassidus always all the mashalim have a time in Chassidus. So talking about the in other words, in real life. I don't think it's not exactly that way. This is something about the ideal. I think that's pshat. That the ideal Rav Talmud, the perfect Rav, the perfect Talmud, perfect means he's a Talmud, he's a full Talmud. And in that scheme, we have these limitations that the teacher it's impossible for the teacher really to take how he really understands it and give it over to the student. And also from the student's perspective, the student doesn't have the capacity to actually digest the way that the teacher understands it. גם מקבל ילך לקבל שלפי איפן כרך בחוכמה, שלפי איפן כרך עצמך איפן זהו מר כרך בהשפעה, ולא שהשפע מן העץ. אין החנם the teacher expresses the idea, expresses what it's a reflection of the way he really understands it, but it's not main item. We can see within, we cannot capture in the idea, in the way he teaches the idea, or the way he himself understands it. ויש עניין השיחס חולין של תלמידי חכמים, שהגם שהם צריכים לימוד, קודם כל אין מעין החמאס הכלל. What is trying to say here? There's a lower level, there's a concept that a teacher teaches an idea. There's also something a lower level called שיחס חולין של תלמידי חכמים. When the Gemara says that when we see and they speak mundane things, they just speak talk good morning and they talk about day-to-day mundane things, because is a Talmid Chacham, within every word he says there's a hidden there's a hidden message. So Okay, he brings in here, may I guess, to show us it's possible that he's saying something smart, but it's full wisdom, totally not reflected here. He's just saying things that are mundane. Okay, so that is an example of the concept that in Shefa, Taka, the Shefa is you take something tangible and you move from one to the other. The idea is moved from the mind of the Mashpia into the mind of the Makabel. At the same time, doesn't reflect the full power of the Mashpia. Similar to that, like I said, reproduction, that you can talk about it, but okay. That the father and the child, it's not necessary that the child should be resemble the father. Agam shebedayme, there is something in the child that resembles the father, but it's not necessary. Sometimes some children do not reflect the father. So that's again a sign that in Shefa, in the world of Shefa, Shefa means that the father gives a piece of himself to the Makabel. Same time, the Makabel doesn't fully reflect. Not every child you can look and say this, he's a copy of his father. That's not the case.
I'm sorry, what's Ashpa Smiyut means what?
I said already, reproduction. In other words, when the Ashpatzis means the male and female, to create a child. For some reason, in another place of cities, it says it's more explicit. For some reason, here he speaks about it very cryptically. That's what Ashpatzis means. Koponim, so there he says, she'ein b'deimeloi. אין בדם ממש, הגם שבדוימה, שזה אין מוחש בדם ממש. ועיקר בזה, more importantly, שבהסגלות, בכל הפרטים, אין מוחש בדם ממש. Even a child who does resemble the parent, the father, not every detail of the father is expressed in the child. So all this is an explanation of the concept that Shefa, Tzaka Ashpa Atzmi, something real is transferred here. The genetic material of the parent, of the father, is in the child. There's an actual transfer. Same time, you can not say is Me'ena Etzem. You can say that the child reflects the essence of the father. That's why Eina B'Deimelei. Then the Gemara says, here's a question. That statement here that he just made, there's a question. The Gemara says, it's an interesting Gemara. The Gemara says, why? There's a few Gemaras, but he brings this Gemara. But I think the standard line is we cannot name but here he says a different, the opposite. He says, the Gemara says, the call in Shacham. Because the Talmidei Chachamim have that, some Chachamim have that modern custom that they call humans Chamre, donkeys. It means they're mezalzel people, so as a punishment for that, the children don't resemble them in their wisdom. The children are not Talmidei Chacham. Mashma. So what is mashma of this Gemara? If not for the sin of the Talmid Chacham, he wouldn't get the punishment. Is b'doime. So the Chayr that contradicts just said. Now, according to the Gemara, it looks like Bichlal a Talmid Chacham's child should be a Talmid Chacham because a child resembles the father. Why is it not happening? It's a punishment for his behavior. So from that we can derive the opposite of what we said here, that the natural thing is the children should resemble the father. As it fit what we just said. So that was the question. The answer is, that's a unique thing. Do we need that explanation of punishment? Why? Because there's a famous thing, Torah has a unique quality, that it follows its own achsania. How would you describe achsania?
Host.
What?
Host.
All right, host. Okay, sure. Okay, so it comes to the same host. So b'meila, if not for the punishment, it's not. In other words, it's not because by nature every child has to resemble the father. Nature, not, but when it comes to Torah, because Torah has asana shalom, so that's why Torah should have continued being hosted by the same family. So if the father is Talmid Chacham, Torah should automatically be hosted by the child, by Bnei Shal Torah Chacham. So it's a unique thing. That's why we need an explanation. Because in other words, it's a punishment. Not saying everybody. So why do we find? Doesn't mean that every time it Chacham's child or not Talmid Chacham. It means why do we find such situations? Then the answer is it's a punishment to the Kol in Shacham. That's an interesting detour here in the middle of the discussion about the mashal. אבל מצד עצם ההשפעה אין מוכנס בדומה. הגם שהבחינס ההשפעה עצמית, מקום בו בבחינס נפגע מן העצם, לכן יכול להיות שאין בדומה. So again, this is a shtickle arichas, in a way almost uncharacteristic, but it's a hanacha, so maybe the way the Rebbe Shab spoke, arichas. Point being is that we see that Shefa is in the middle of describing the different and Shefa. So Shefa is Ashpa Atzmis, but doesn't reflect the full power of the etzem, of the object, of the source of the light. Shenken the level of oil. Shenken oil is something. It's only an external expression, like. It's like I said before about the shemesh. Any negay alloy, it's not negay. At the same time, when we look at the oil, we see the full pus. We see the full. I'm sorry. See the full more, the full brightness of the sun. So till now we all spoke. I mean, in top of the page, it spoke already in the nimshal, but and then he started again the mashal. So till now, the last half a page describing the mashal difference on oil and shefa. So oil means gilui etzem aora ba'alma. At the same time, it's main etzem. Going back to the nimshal, she'oil agam shulchanes aora avad makom main etzem. Is reflecting the etzem. She'oil b'pchinas ein sof. The oil as the infinity of the etzem. It has the insof, the infinity that the Eibush himself has is expressed through the oil. שהרי הקו בכל מקום שנמשך עד בחינס ארוס הקו שמאיר באציוס עד לבחינס האינסוף. Everything in all the madrigas of אור הקו are in a state of infinity. Actually, יש חילוק מן האינסוף שלנו. מה אלו באציוס? כמו שבאציוס. But in that gufa, there's levels in the gilui of the Ein-Sof, but it still reflects the full power of the Ein-Sof. That's really the meaning, that is the inner, deeper Chassidish meaning of the word Avaya, Chod, the Rebbe was born, meaning Shopres Ardas Pshitus. that is the state of unity, and more what the important point is making is pshitus. Pshitus means abstraction, plain, non-definable. Anything that's defined, definition, if you define something a certain way, so it's not something else. So that itself, it limits it. And also, the unities, the Ardus is not perfect. Perfect Ardus means there's one, there's nothing else. It is defined in a certain way, so that means it's not the other way. So that's already not a full level of infinity and unity. So the point is pshitus. Agam shani avai hu shmi shupnes olav. It is the same paradox. That on one hand, avai hu shmi, avai is only a name, which means, like we said before, ha'ora ba'alma. Same time, context itself is pshitus. No, so what do we? Okay, so to summarize what he started saying, Shemesh Morgan avai elikim, bottom of page Reshit Ches, and the which means that the general point is that Avai is compared to Shemesh, to Oir Shemesh, which means in two ways. The comparison to Oir reflects two opposite things. On one hand, it means it's Ha'or Ba'alma. More importantly, it means that it's Me'ena Etzim. That's what it means, Shemesh Magen Avai Elikim. So now he asks the question. So what is oil? Like you said, oil and so. What is oil? Oil means that the Eibishter's energy, for lack of a better word, that reaches us is pure, or maybe another translation of shit is pure. It's pure and abstract and infinite. That's why it's called oil. But we see something there that we see that it's not exactly what he said. Infinity, like we said, is pshitus, pure, abstract, undefined. What we do see when we look at our reality, we see that the godly energy that gives life and sustains and creates our reality is as a division, which is the opposite of Ardus of Pshitus. There's division, there's levels. Which is a result of the abundant division that we find in creation. So that's a question that he starts the question, but he got a shtickle detour to develop the question better, and then he's going to finish the question. So the question is, how is it possible that the Ein Sof, which is Pashut, Ardus, should have so much division depending on the Makabli? When you talk about the division, he goes into a shtickle, like I said, see the two psukim and Tehillim describe the Eibish's greatness and his one it says more Hashem, how multitude or abundant are your Masech Hashem, are the acts, the actions of Hashem, the creations of Hashem. And the other passage says more Godlo Masech, how great they are. How many they are and how great they are. Like the Rebbe always used to, he's going to explain it also. The Rebbe used to use this Mahaba Magodlo, that's like quantity and quality. There's a letter the Rebbe used to say that make a Farbringen, it is Kislev should have two Farbringen. One Farbringen should be everybody together, which is more, I don't know which one is the quality, which one is the quantity, but he said that the one is Maraba, one is Magot, two Farbringens. One should be everybody together, and one should be individual groups. So over there, he brought these two things too. So Marab Maser, but here in our Maimer, he what?
What's the second of Farbringen? Should be more.
No, more. In other words, people each shul should have its own Farbringen.
Sure, okay.
Yes, the Rebbe. There's a lot of that printed in a few places that the Rebbe says Magod, Marab. Stop. You can say it, you can look at it two ways. One of them is, partially probably means that if it's all of together, it's my more of echos, maybe. I don't know. I just bought it in Stam Der Chago. But in our Maimer, the way he describes the difference, Magodlo is the difference between physical creation, the creation of our reality, and the spiritual. So Rabu, quantity is more in the physical world, and quality is more in the spiritual world. That's how he explains it in our Maimer. Rab Masecha Kol HaNevoim HaTachteini. Rab Masecha speaks about, refers to the law of creations, which means the physical reality. Sheyesh, shiur. There's an abundance of creatures with a case named shiur, no end, no measure. Badal meaning that's within each four general parts of creation. There's a lot of species, meaning each individual species, and each individual one of the species, that's how he explains Marabba Masachash. So we see it's all continuing what he starts saying. Each individual detail, item within each of the four types, has its own type of Chayes Haliki, according to its nature. Like I said, is the Nivoim Alyonim, the higher creations, which means the spiritual world. So in that thing, he goes a shtickle arichas. Quite a shtickle arichas. Describe what is the meaning of greatness of Malach, that in the Malachim there's also division. So he goes like this. Within the Malachim there's also huge division, unmeasured. Each malach, each madrega, each spiritual being has its own, is divided, differs from the other with its grasp, its intellectual grasp, and tiny galiki, and the godly delight they experience. So each one is different in the Avodas Hashem, the worship of Eibishter. Says in Chazal that the Machne Michol in the camp of Malach Michol, Kuf Pei Elef Machnes. There's 180,000 camps. Shemachne Michol Ba'ava. Machne Michol, we know Michol is Sar Shomayim, Sar Shal Ava. Michol is the Malach of Ava. But Meile, what does it mean? What does it mean? Mecholokim ba'avodah shalem. Yesh b'em abundant division in the type of Avas Hashem that each Malach experiences. Yesh av b'eit kazev, yesh av b'eit kazev. This type of Avas, that type of Avas. It says kamoi ba'neshamas, similar to the way they see the neshamas amate. In order to get a grasp what he's talking about, he gives a dogma the way we experience in our own life. Whoever it's shy, upon him in theory, yes, we see in our own human nature that yes, is a tremendous division. Ain't they saying Shabbos? The human beings, no one is ain't they saying Shabbos? Then their nature, their emotional, intellectual natures are different. They're not equal one to the other. Which means shechalukim basagosam. Again, in the get to us, we're not talking about people who have different tastes in food. We're talking about everything's about relating to the Eibishter, to Likus. So we see every person has a different way of understanding Likus. Similarly, they also differ in their emotional response, in their feelings. The way they experience love, the way they experience fear and awe. Yesh mispal, yesh mispal chulu. I think it's Meramed when it says in the Agdom of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, Yesh mispal medova. That the Alter Rebbe also talks about it, that each individual person has different levels, different ways of the way he experience, the way what triggers him, what inspires him. But Ava good for Yesh Rivas Madrigas, Sha'ava Yoter Nasaga Shalem. The Ava itself, I think, is going back to the Nimshal, to the Malach. Not sure where the Marshal Nimshal starts. Maybe, you know what? I'm not clear where it started saying Kamoisha by the Shamas. It's not, the sentence is not fully clear. So I'm not sure. I think Ba'ava Guf goes back to the Malach. Yes, Riva Bais Madriga, Sha'avi, Lefeif Nasaga Shalem. The Ava is there's tens of thousands of Madrigas. Like I said before, Kuf Pe'el. Nim Tashiach Riva Yisrael. Upon what we see from all this is there's a tremendous division and differentiation between various Malach. The Gam, in addition to each one is limited in its own way of experiencing it. That limit itself can be two aspects to it. The essence of the understanding and the feeling of each individual, let's say, but Neshamas HaMelachim is limited by its own way of experiencing it. One person experiences it one way, and the other one person, or Malach, the same thing, another person another way. This creates the division, because each one experiences his intellectual and emotional and his inspiration in a specific way, different than the other. So that makes the difference. That creates a difference between him and the other. That's number one. That limits him. In other words, he's limited. He understands it a certain way, and he feels it, and he's inspired a certain way, different than the other one. So that it's different. So that's one aspect of the limitation. The Gam, then there's a second limitation. Which the inspiration itself, the understanding itself, in addition to the fact that it differs from the other, it has its limits. It has no limit. There's a limit how much I can understand. And how much I can understand, how much I can feel, how much I can be inspired. So there's a limit. It's not unlimited. So this bottom, all of this. So we see this division and there's limitation. And like we said earlier, what's the source? What gives us the ability to have all? It's all the highest of the key. So we have a question. Highest of the key. This is the question. The source of everything is the Shem Havai, like we said, from the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof is in a state of unity and abstraction, pure, one, indivisible flow of godly energy. So the question is, where does the division come from? Why do we have such an abundant division if everything is if everything comes from there and suffers? How does we just described that the Or Elikis, which is Ma'ina Etzem, the Eibishter is Ein Sof, the Mele, the Or is also Ein Sof. Ein Sof meaning it's unlimited, it's undefined, and it's not undivided. So how is it possible that in our world, all of a sudden we experience such division? Where does division come from? So the answer to that is the Rebbe says Hashem Elokim. The division reflects another godly ability. I mean, all this is Shaykh Ba'amunah talks about it all. This is all based on Shaykh Ba'amunah to a degree. So, in other words, everything we spoke till now is an expression of the Ebershter's infinity and indefinability and the powerful, strong energy. So there's also the Ebershter also has another. I mean, he doesn't have any. He's not limited by that itself. He has another way of expressing himself, which is Elikim, Shem Elikim. The Ebershter is another name, Shem Elikim. Shem Elikim means, number one, Elikim is the word Elikim itself is in the plural. That implies division. That itself is like division. Elikim, we don't know. Elikim is plural. They're like Kan Elikim, but there's a pasuk actually. There's a pasuk that clearly shows us that Elikim is Lashon Rabim, but because Elikim Gedoshim Heima. There's a pasuk that talked about the Eibishter says Gedoshim, also in the plural. So Elikim Lashon Rabim, Elikim is in the plural. Plural means division. Now he brings in another source, which is related to the pasuk. God Lavai Mol Moed Be'ir Elikenu. That the ear is connected to Elikenu. Shem Elikim is connected to ear. What a city? What is ear in this context? In this context, says Marames of the Sefer Yitzir. Sefer Yitzir says, "Moshe ear nasa me'ar bebatim." A city is assembled. Maybe is the right word, or not assembled. Is made up of a lot of houses. You have a lot of houses together. They make a city. What is a city? City is a collection of houses, of buildings. Vahabais, how is a house being created? The house is created from a lot of stones. Again, so he's jumping into a different marshal here. He says right away, Shavonim and Oisius. Avonim, when we say ear and batim and avonim, we're not talking about it's all a figure of speech. But what really is talking, we're talking about something else. I mean, that something else is also a marshal. But houses that are made out of stones here really relate to the Mishnah in Sefer Yitzira. The Mishnah says Shnei Avonim Boine Shtei Batim. In Sefer Yitzira, when it talks about Avonim and Batim, it means ladders and boards. Even a stone is like a ladder, and a house is like a wood. Shtei Avonim Boine Shtei Batim. How many word combinations can come out of two letters? Only two words, like Aleph base, either Av or Bo. That's the only two words we can come out of two letters. So all this just okay. Shalosh Avonim by the Shisha Batim. With three letters, you can create six combinations of words. Mele. So what he's getting at is that we're talking about that when he says Irli Kenu, the pasuk is a remez of the concept of words created out of letters. What is the marshal? So that's how he jumps. So now he goes to get to the marshal in a different context. When the intellectual experience, a person understands something well, or so when Shabo when he expresses the idea in a lot of words, in a combination of many letters, so at that point, there's a lot of division. When you have a general idea in your mind, it's general. But when you bring it into words, it's divided. It's broken down into aspects of the seichel. That's the mashal. Shem Havaya, Shabbat Islam, Zubiyat Zubiyat, Shem Lekim, both is Zubiyat. Okay, so that's the answer. You brought in a lot of side things like here, Lekim. So the answer, as it possible, Shem Havaya should shine in our world. There should be a riba yitzchak. There should be a lot of madregas of gilui likus. The answer is it's not. It's there's an outside, so to speak, another force here that makes the division. That's called Shem Elikim. Just like the letters, the words of an idea make a division in the area of seichel. So that itself צריך מכל מיני איך יש בכוח השם אלוקים ליפות רק השם הבא. השם הבא פשוט זה בעצם. So he says, we just answered it in a way technically how it works, that the division comes from an additional force, but we still didn't answer how is that possible. How can Hashem Elikim make a division of Hashem Havaya? Hashem Havaya is a reflection of the Etzem, and it's a state of total abstraction and purity. So what is the answer to that? That the Yitzchak of the Hashem Elikim are the Helen ve'estas of Hashem Havaya. The division part that Elikim does, that's step 2. But step 1 that Hashem Elikim does is the Helen ve'estas. It conceals and hides the energy of Hashem Havaya. That in turn enables it to create the Yitzchalkus. So we have the 2 steps here. First of all, there's the division, and then after it conceals the essence of Shem Havaya, and whatever is left is only our Chitzainis. Interesting. We said earlier already that Havaya itself is our Chitzainis, but this is like it's like a secondary, what we call in today's language, derivative. It's a secondary reflection of the Gil of Shem Havaya, because Shem Elikim blocks and conceals the original Shem Havaya. So what's left is our Chitzainis. By this there, Yechali is Yitzchak of Shem Elikim, and that in turn enables Shem Elikim to create division in that our Chitzainis. So that's Shem Havaya Kameshu Lo Yechali Yitzchak. So Einachanam, Shem Havaya itself, which is the early key, the early himself that reflects the Eibishter himself. From that perspective, from that madriga, it's impossible on its own. It should be divided, not on its own. Even Shem Elikim cannot affect it because that's what it is. So that's what happens. First, there is the concealment. What's left is again, concealment in our case means not that it's totally gone. Then it does nothing to do. But it's a sort of diminishment of the original light, like much like a light curtain. So the curtain blocks the strength of the light. The light is still there, but it's a much lower voltage, like we say. In other words, it's a low, much less connected. We made at that level of the hour can be division. Almost, and then this almost itself also has two parts to it. Aleph is almost the Pnis Answer Shem Havaya Shai Dei Slapshus. It's a long sentence here, so okay, you know what? Okay, this we'll start Sunday. Psalms of Bezinion.
Well, thank you for the slow pace. It stays in mind, so when we go fast, it doesn't retain. when you
Yeah,
say the
but-
word inside.
Something that, okay, fine, all right.
Thank you, Shukran. Like when you go on the dirt road and you go fast, nothing sticks to it. But you go
Okay.
slowly. I appreciate it. Thank you much.
All right.
My mind is a dirt road.